Oh, this is relaxing. You ready for that double bass? There it is. Now that we are sufficiently relaxed and ready to take on some math, let's look at what we're doing today. We have 9.3 solving quadratic equations that we're going to have to do. And then 9.4. 9.3 we already did in class today. We did a lot of examples, but again, I just wanted to make sure that we went over this in case anybody messed up or didn't do something. I have this video ready for you. I am going to breeze through this pretty quickly on 9.3 and then we'll get to 9.4. Okay, if you remember, we talked a little bit about quadratic equations have solutions or roots. Okay, and a solution excuse me, is where we are actually going to cross the x-axis or x-intercepts. We're always solving for x. I show you here two solutions, what they look like. Okay, here's one solution. We did one of those in class, and here is no solutions, or no real solutions, as we will correctly call them further on down the road. They are related closely and found in similar ways, and we are going to do that today. All right, so on our first step right here, solve by graphing. So I got x squared minus 81 equals 0. Okay, well, if I solve this by graphing, we need to have a graph available. So if we solve this by graphing, I'm going to come over here to Desmos and I'm going to plug in x squared minus 81. Here's my graph. Now again, remember the interface on this on a computer when I'm using a mouse is not as nice as what we'll be using with an iPad. That's actually pretty nice, and I actually learned a couple more tricks from my friend Mr. Hale, how to manipulate this graph that we're going to talk about tomorrow, maybe Monday. But let's look at this. If I zoom out just a little bit, you can see that the x-axis, or sorry, the vertex is all the way down here at negative 81, or 0, comma negative 81. If I want to find the solutions, remember that's where I cross the x-axis, okay? And for Desmos, all we have to do is really just click on them, and they pop up right there. There's my two solutions, 9 and negative 9. So when I come back to my notes, my solutions here with the graph would be 9 and negative 9. Okay, what I want you to do is go ahead and graph these other ones. Okay, this one's going to be a little difficult. We did this one in class, so pay attention to what you got to do before you graph it. All right, hint, hint, hint. So graph the next three, and then we'll start on the next slides. Okay, so this one would be the next one, x squared plus 12. That's what I want to graph. Again, we know our axis is symmetry, and we know how to find the vertex. I'm going to do it for you real quick. Again, I said this is going to be short and sweet. Come over here. Here it is right here. Its vertex is at 0, 12, and it goes up. It opens up, which means it has no solution or no real solution. Okay, we don't cross the x-axis. The minimum is at 12, so we have no real solution. Okay, let's look back at the other one. The other one, x squared equals 0, or number 3. Now this one was a little tricky. You had to move the 7 over here because we would need it set equal to 0. So we move the 7 back over. We end up with x squared equals 0. Then we go to our graph. That one looks like this. And we have one real solution. Okay, x squared equals 0 touches the x-axis at the point y equals 0. So we have one solution right there, and that is it. That's what those look like. And the last one, 5x squared minus 80. That one looks like this. Again, we have a pretty big graph. It's similar to the one that we did first, that I did with you. It's all the way, the vertex is all the way down here, down at 80. Negative 80, I apologize, and we can see it opens upwards, so we know we have this has two real solutions. Again, if we need to find these, we can just click on the x-axis and it'll tell us exactly what they are, which is 4 and negative 4. Okay, so they're solving graphically. Alright, next thing that we need to be able to do is solve by using square roots. Now, square root just says for any quadratic in the form ax squared minus c equals 0, solve by isolating x squared and then take the square root of each side of the equation. Remember, if x squared equals c, then x equals plus or minus the square root of c. If you do not use that plus or minus, you are wrong. You have to use plus or minus. Square root always has two solutions, a positive solution and a negative solution. Now, let's try 5 and 6, solved by square roots. Pretty easy on number 5. Hopefully nobody's too freaked out by this one. All I really have to do is just square root both sides. This is a, because these two cancel out, and the square root of 225 is, yes, Nico, you are right, plus or minus 15. Okay. This one, there's a little more involved in. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do this one with you too real quick. We're going to move the 8 to the other side because we want to solve for w. So isolate w, get w by itself. So move the 8 to the other side. That means I need to add 8. Add 8. I end up with 3w squared equals 0. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. Okay, I'm just following my order of operations here. W squared equals 0. Square root. Square root. Nice thing about this, square root of 0 is 0. W equals 0. Okay, which means, which means that we have one solution here. That's not a plus or minus, so this is one solution. 0. This was two solutions, plus 15 and minus 15. All right? Let me have you try these last two right here, and then we will move on. All right. So we're back, and this is the answers you should have got. Again, nothing too crazy here, just solving. Over here we end up with a fraction, but again, hopefully you're all okay with that. The square root of 9 over 16 is just the square root of 9 over the square root of 16, which is 3/4, so plus or minus 3/4. This is plus or minus 1. And there you go, 9/3. Let's talk about 9/4. Yeah. All right, 9/4. Factoring to solve quadratics. Now this is what we're going to spend a lot of time probably on Monday with. I got a special surprise for you on Friday that we're going to do in class. So I know most of you are just pumped to do that, so be ready for that. And the zero product property is something that we're going to have to talk about when factoring to solve quadratics. Okay, and the zero product says if a times b equals 0, then a equals 0 or b equals 0. Okay, no duh, product property is what this should be called, because of course one of them has to be 0. That's the only way that we can multiply and get 0. All right, so let's look at what we're going to do with this. Okay, solve using the zero product property. Now what this means is, remember that a times b equals 0 means that either a equals 0 or b equals 0. So the way that we find our solutions is, what makes this equal to 0? If this is b, how do I make b equal 0? In other words, x plus 5 equals 0. So what must x be to make this whole thing 0? Hopefully you move the 5 to the other side, made it a negative, and you get x equals -5. Alright? We're going to do the same thing over here, okay? Because a could be 0. Alright? So let's do that over here too. So x minus 4 equals 0. Okay? Move the 4 to the other side, x equals +4. So these two right here are my solutions. Alright? Because either one of these could be 0 to make this go to 0. Alright? This could be 0 or this could be 0. One of them has to be, so we'll check for both of them. Alright? Number 2, we got a little more involved on this one. Alright? This is a this time. Okay, so this little part right here is a, and this part is b. Okay, this time we had two binomials. Here we have a monomial and then a binomial. Nothing changes. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to take a, which is just x. X equals 0 means x equals 0. Okay? B, 2x minus 3 equals 0. We'll move the 3 to the other side first, just like you know how to do. It becomes positive, and then divide by 2. So x equals 3/2. These are my two solutions here. Alright? So now we need to solve using factoring. Okay? And the zero product property. Okay, factoring, this goes back just a little bit into chapter 8. Remember, we find the factors of -14 that add together to give me 5. The factors of -14, really there's only 2, 14 and 1, which don't work, and 7 and 2. Which one needs to be negative to give me a positive 5? It has to be a positive 7 and a negative 2. Okay? Remember we draw out that table. So that means my factors are x plus 7 and x minus 2. Okay? Not doing anything you haven't done already. Now here's the new part. What makes this 0? Here's A, here's B. So x plus 7 equals 0. So x is negative 7. And x minus 2 equals 0. So x is positive 2. X equals negative 7. X equals positive 2. 2 answers. Alright, you try the next 3, and then we will rally around this. Yay, yay! Alright, so here's what your final answers look like. Hopefully, all of these are what you got. Again, we just have to set it equal to 0 is the only thing we're looking for here. Greatest common factor, 2x, x minus 3, set it equal to 0. And here you're going to get, oh, I did not write that in, but it should be x equals 0 and x equals 3. Alright, over here, again, equals to 0, so we're going to end up with x equals negative 4 and x equals negative 2. And I'm noticing I didn't write any of these in. I apologize for that. Give me 1 second, I'll write them in. So up here, we should get x equals negative 4 and x equals negative 2. Again, this should be equal to 0. And this one should be x equals to 0, x equals 3. Alright. And then down here, we had to do AC method. Okay. Greatest common factor. So I just get q minus 2 and 3q plus 7 are my two factors. Set them equal to 0. And you should get q equals 2 and q equals negative 7/3. Alright, these are the last two. Right here, this one is actually not too bad. We'll move this over, get 16w squared minus 25. Hopefully you recognize this as the difference of two squares. So 4w minus 5 and 4w plus 5. That's my factors. Equals 0. W equals 5/4 and w equals negative 5/4. So I'm actually just going to put a plus and minus in front of this. There's that. And then this one is the dreaded grouping. So over here we can take out an x squared and I'm left with x minus 3. Over here I can take out a negative 4 and I'm left with x minus 3. That's the same thing. Good, that's what I want. So x squared minus 4, x minus 3 equals 0. So this again breaks down into x plus 2, x minus 2. And x minus 3 equals 0. So x equals plus or minus 2, x equals 3. Alright guys, I'll see you in class on Monday. Make sure you get this stuff done. We got a lot more to cover. Alright.